In April 2025, Joshua Aaron released a controversial app in the Apple iOS App Store called IceBlock. According to a June 30 article in Time, IceBlock allows its users to upload sightings of ice activity, pinpoint on a map where the sighting occurred, and add any additional information they want to share. Then other users of the app within a 5-mile radius will receive a push notification telling them about the sighting. The app shares some similarities with the traffic navigation app Waze that helps users avoid speed traps and speed cameras. The developer of the IceBlock app claims the app is to inform, not obstruct. He sees the purpose of the app as helping users avoid a confrontation with ICE. Other people see the app as facilitating criminals and avoiding arrest by law enforcement. The acting director of ICE sees the app as painting a target on federal law enforcement officers' back and inciting violence. This video is not about immigration policy or even the legality of the app. For what it's worth, my best guess is the fate of this app will be determined in a courtroom, with one side arguing this app is First Amendment-protected free speech, and the other side arguing the app is a threat to public safety in general and ICE agents in particular. The U.S. Supreme Court unanimously ruled in the famous 1919 case of Schenck v. United States that if speech is intended to result in a crime and there is a clear and present danger that speech will result in a crime, it is no longer protected by the First Amendment. Whether this app is determined to be protected speech or a clear and present danger is beyond the scope of this video. What this video is about is another claim made by the app developer in the Time article when he said, quote, "The app is 100% anonymous. We don't collect user data. We don't even capture user data." I am Dr. John Padfield, an engineer turned state representative turned business professor, and this is Business Reform, where we discuss issues at the intersection of business, technology, and society. According to an NBC News story on July 2nd, the app saw an increase in downloads following threats by the Trump administration to prosecute over the app. As of Sunday, July 6th, the app was the #2 most downloaded social networking app in the Apple iOS App Store. It is understandable why people who download this app would like to remain anonymous. The developer claims the app does not collect any data, and I believe him. But does that mean users of this app are guaranteed anonymity? The short answer is, it depends. The remainder of this video is not specific to IceBlock. It applies to any app on your iPhone. I believe there are at least 4 ways the identity of any app's users could become known. Let's quickly deal with the first 3, then spend a little more time on the 4th and most likely way a user might be identified. The first way a user could be identified is if they had a parental control app on their phone that allows someone else to monitor what they are installing on their iPhone. However, because my channel is not intended for kids, it is unlikely this applies to anyone watching this video. The second way a user could be identified is if their iPhone was part of an Enterprise Mobile Device Management or MDM program. This is common when an employer provides a phone to an employee and the employer wants the ability to monitor activity on the phone, change settings, and push software updates to the phone. The third potential way a user of IceBlock or any other app might be identified is if Apple were ordered by a judge to turn over a list of Apple IDs that had downloaded the app. However, Apple successfully fought a judicial order in 2016 when they were ordered by a judge to create a backdoor into iOS 8 to assist the FBI in gaining access to an iPhone 5C carried by a deceased mass shooter. The standoff between Apple and the FBI ended several weeks later when the FBI hired an Israeli company called Cellebrite to unlock the phone without Apple's assistance. The bottom line is I would expect Apple's lawyers to push back hard against any attempt to force the company to turn over a list of users. That brings us to the 4th and what I consider the most likely way the user of any app might be identified, by the other apps that are on that same phone. Prior to iOS 14, it was easier for shady apps to collect a list of other apps on your phone. For example, according to TechCrunch, between 2016 and 2019, Facebook was paying teens to install a VPN on their phones that spied on all their web activity. The Facebook spyware VPN called Onavo was developed by a company Facebook acquired for $120 million in 2014. Onavo was an Israeli company whose software was frequently classified as spyware. According to TechCrunch, Facebook used that Israeli software to secretly snoop on users' Snapchat traffic. The point I want to emphasize in this image is not that Facebook was spying on users from 2016 to 2019. The point is that it was 5 years after they got caught before we learned the full extent of that spying, thanks to internal Facebook documents that surfaced during discovery in a federal class action lawsuit. Facebook has repeatedly proven they are unwilling to stop invading people's privacy, even after suffering multi-billion-dollar fines and lawsuits. In 2019, the Federal Trade Commission fined Facebook $5 billion over privacy violations. The following year, Facebook paid $650 million to settle a lawsuit over their abuse of facial recognition software. 2 years after that, they paid a $90 million settlement for tracking users across the internet via like buttons. A few months later, Facebook paid a $725 million settlement over the Cambridge Analytica scandal. And just last year, Facebook agreed to pay a $1.4 billion settlement to the state of Texas over unauthorized collection of biometric data. These are just the times Facebook/Meta has been caught spying on people and forced to pay a fine or lawsuit settlement over the past 6 years. Simply put, I do not trust them at all, even after Mark Zuckerberg's extreme makeover. But in fairness to Facebook, they are not the only company that has used their apps to secretly collect data and even record user screens without their knowledge or permission. In 2019, apps such as Abercrombie & Fitch, Hotels.com, and Singapore Airlines were using Glassbox to embed session replay technology in their apps. Glassbox has a software development kit, or SDK, that developers could put into their apps to record the entire screen of a user's phone, including passwords and credit card numbers. Glassbox is a privately held Israeli company that serves customers worldwide. To their credit, in iOS 14, Apple really tried to crack down on apps that snoop on other apps. Apple also introduced privacy nutrition labels on apps and put policies in place to try and improve users' privacy. Did it work? Based on past experience, we won't know for sure for a few more years because companies tend to get away with privacy violations for years before getting caught. So back to the original question, is IceBlock truly anonymous? I would say yes from the standpoint of Apple and the developer. This means unlike users of Parler in 2021, there is no user data for a hacktivist to steal from the website to dox users. Is IceBlock safe from discovery by other apps on your phone? I am much less certain about that. But the biggest threat to users of IceBlock would probably be the mass surveillance of the NSA. The IceBlock app must connect to a known server to send and receive information about ICE activity. Even if a user were using a VPN, I believe it is likely the NSA could trace data packets from the server to the user's iPhones to know who has the app installed, but the NSA is not in the habit of advertising their capabilities, so that is speculation on my part. Were you aware of Facebook's program where they paid teens to download spyware so they could snoop on their Snapchat data? This video was inspired by an email I received from a subscriber. If you have personally suffered any financial or reputational harm from a corporate invasion of your privacy, I would love to hear from you by email. I will not share anything about your situation without your explicit permission, and you can reach me at businessreform@proton.me. Also, my Brushfires of Freedom tour kicks off next week in Knoxville, Tennessee, then Fairfax, Virginia. Go to brushfirestour.com for details on these free events. And subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my upcoming privacy pep talk and videos on how you can enhance your personal privacy. In the comment section under the first video I made on avoiding facial recognition, I had numerous suggestions of things to test. So in my upcoming video, I will be testing mirrored sunglasses, reflective stickers, hats with LEDs in them, and even infrared reflective sunscreen. Thank you for watching.